Opinion leaders in marginalized areas are calling for the issue of compensation to be taken seriously, as some of the land that extractive industries operate from is land that could be put to use by members of the communities affected.
If you are going to do, let's say, just take for example the petroleum in Turkana, okay? Now that you have found oil there, all that land which would have potentially been for the pastoralists won't use it, okay? You need to compensate them for that.
I think we have a very, very major challenge. The most important thing is that, especially minority groups, for instance, they are resource-dependent communities. They are not bankers. They don't work in a bank and all that. They depend on wetlands, for example, pasture land and stuff like that. So access to land is of the utmost importance to them.
According to pressure groups, however, there has been a lot of progress made in ensuring that such communities are well compensated, but there as well seems to be lack of political goodwill in passing important legislation that could cushion communities. Policies on extractive processes by companies keen on profiting from natural resources also hardly involve the locals in such areas, which observers say is a recipe for conflict.
The challenge for Nigeria has been that extractive companies have negotiated with governments and then moved into areas. So communities were never involved. So later on, our communities began protesting. You're getting things from our community, we don't benefit, it enriches other people. So there's a level of discontent and disagreement with it. So what we are doing as civil society is saying that communities need to be prepared and need to be involved and engaged.
If people don't benefit from the extractive industry, it might mean blood, like what has happened in Nigeria, you remember? So there is a lot of haggling on this extractive industry.
In Kenya, the government has been urged to avert a situation where conflict could arise in marginalized areas rich with natural resources that can be commercialized by first implementing the now controversial Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission report.
We have very fundamental recommendations made by the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission, which are not being implemented. And this is worrying. When you look at in many pastoralist areas, you'd be shocked. You can see flare-up of conflicts everywhere. You're talking about Tana River. You're talking about Pokot Turkana. You're talking about Mbubut Forest, for instance, the rights of the Ogiek to their land. You're talking about fights in Marsabit, for example, over resources.
The country is in the process of legislating on the Community Land Bill, Mining Bill, and the Energy Bill. Similarly, the draft mining policy is yet to be reviewed and approved. Eric Munene, GBS News.